Hi friends, welcome to webcam. In this video, I'm going to talk about CSS element alignments. Okay, so if you want to align the elements or align the text, okay, so we need some property or we have some property in CSS that will help us to place the element at the center. Means what I need to do if I wanted to add one more element here, okay, at the center of this outer div. So this is what we call as a alignment. Or if you want to align this element to the this left position, if you want to align the element to the right position, if you want to align the at the bottom position, bottom right position, or bottom left position, so this is how alignment works. And with respect to work with alignment, we have display property, display and position property. That is I already discussed in one of my previous video. Here I will discuss about next properties, that is CSS float and clear. Okay, so what is a float? Let's understand. Let's say I have a two elements, two block level elements containing a width of 30% or 40%, whatever would be. And what I will do, I have two elements here in the same parent. Means what? They are now these two divs have this one and this one. Okay, I will make them as different border. And now you can see that these two elements, these two blocks have one parent. So we can call them as a sibling. And I want this sibling to be on horizontal line only, or we can say that I want to align the element in such a way that one should stay at left side and another should stay at right side. Yes, we can do this by using CSS position property, but to make compatible or to sort, okay, we have CSS float property. It is very similar to the display and position property, but what it will do, it is just like a combination of these two, CSS display and CSS position property. We do not need to define much. Okay, so if I wanted to do this, and if I want these two elements should come like this on the page, what I need to do, I will show you, and that later on we will discuss about the float property. Okay, so let's say I have a one div, okay, and I will say this div as a parent. Okay, so for the reference purpose I'm adding classes here, and I will say I have one other div, and I will say this as a child one. Okay, now next element, I would like this, I can have many more elements in a one div. That will not be a constant here. So now inside a div I will add some text by using h3, and I will say webcam. Okay, and here also I will say webcam, because this is how I have a content. And what I will do, I will add border to parent so that we can see parent. Okay, parent, and I will add border, and border is 2px solid gray. So this is what the border I have added, and here you can see that these two elements are sitting in this way. Why they are sitting on the new line? So that is what we know, that this h3 or this div is a block level element. So by default it takes 100% width, and there is no space to come and sit. I mean, this element, this webcam has no space to come and sit here. So I want to make the space. Yes, it is possible, we can make it. Okay, so what I will do, I will say dot child one, and I will add background. Okay, background color, just to demo purpose. Similarly, I will add property to the child 2 also, and background color is blue violet. Okay, and this was okay. So now I have two elements in such a way that they are coming on the new line, and I wanted to align these aside of each other. So what I can do, I can say that this two elements should be a display inline. Means I need to declare that, or I need to add the property, or I need to convert block level element into the inline element, and for that purpose we can add a display inline. But we have added display inline to the child. Okay, and what happens? Okay, still why there is, okay, why what I will do, I will add display inline to the child 2 also, because it might be possible that this is still a block level element and I have added. Still you can see that even though these two I have converted to the display inline, they are coming on new line. Means if I add the border, you can see that border to px solid, okay, for the demo purpose. And to see, okay, so divs are, means they are aligned in this way that, still this h3 is block level element, right? Because heading is, or headings are, all the six h1 to h6 are block level element. So if you want to see that, I will say h3, and this is the only way to show. Either we can add a border or I can add this, and here you can see that again these two elements are block level element. That's why they are not coming aside of each other. So instead of doing these many things, okay, I have a property. Means what I need to do, I need to declare here as a display, again display inline for the h3, and then this will work, right? And then this will work. This is how we can align. And there is a one border that aqua child one has a background, or it is taking some space. Okay, that's why we are seeing here different color. But still now they are in alignment. Okay, what I will do, I will remove this. Okay, now I have only h3 element as a inline element. Still that is not working. You can see that, okay, still that is not working. Means why? Because this div, again that div is a display block element, and it is not allowing to this webcam to move to this side. Okay, and to avoid this, okay, to avoid this kind of confusion, okay, we are able to see it, but we need to add multiple property. We need to use the position and display property for these elements, and it will works. But instead of that, I have something called child one as a float left. Okay, what it will do, okay, by default when I declare float left, internally it will add one more property, that is what the display inline block to this element. Okay, display inline block. So this property is getting added, display inline block. Internally this is happening. Okay, we do not need to use this, right? And we have declared this element, and now they are coming on the same line, even though I have only declared float left to this element, right? Okay, and that float left is automatically applied to the next sibling. Okay, means what I will do, I will say, okay, I will copy this, I will say here, and I will add webchamp1, webchamp2, webchamp3 to show you the difference, and I will say child3 here. Okay, so I have added float left to this child1, and that property is, I mean, float left is applicable to next sibling of that element. And yes, here we can see that this webcam3 is coming on new line, because this is what the element getting affected. This will not get affected by float property. Okay, but what I wanted to do now we got that using float left property, elements are, I mean, two elements are come aside of each other, right? Or they will get aligned horizontally in the same line. But now I wanted to move this webcam2. Okay, now I wanted to move this child2 to the right side. Okay, I have removed, just it was for the demo purpose. Here what I will do, I will say child2. Okay, and for child2 I can add float right. Yes, float right. And what it will do, here you can see that that element will be aligned to the right side. That element will be aligned to the right side. Okay, so this is how float property works. This is how a float property works, and these two elements are now separated by using float property. These two elements are now separated from its parent elements, so there will not be any effect of parent properties, or they are not taking a space of parent. I mean, it's like they are not in a normal flow of web page. Okay, that's why we are seeing a one line here. Okay, and if I go here and if I add some text here, you can see that that text will be inside a parent, but these two elements are not in the parent. That is what happens, and it is like a display inline block, and it behaves okay, display inline and position absolute. So we don't need to use that many property. With only single property we can make this possible. Okay, what I will do, I will not declare this element as a float left. Okay, and let me remove this. And now this element is also getting affected by this float left property, right? And I don't want that. To remove that float left effect on child2, I can declare child2, and there is a something called clear left. Means what float we have applied for the first element, we need to clear that property from next element, and what it will do, it will come on next line. Okay, it will come on next line. Means if I add background here, you can see that I have not declared any element as a display inline, but you can still see that by default it is taking the width as much as it needed. But for webcam2, okay, background color aquamarine, okay, slightly different. And for webcam2, it is not taking display inline. But if I remove this clear left, you can see the effect that webcam2 is still a block level element, but it is aligned left to webcam1. To clear the effect on this element, we need to use the clear property, or I mean, to clear the effect of float property, we need to use the clear property, and that value should be similar to the float value. If we declare here float right, we need to clear the float right. So this is how it works, float property. Okay, now this is what about the float and key clear. But how we can use the float property? We do not need to declare display property when we use float. We do not need to use the position property to align the element to the right side. It directly gives us a right value for the float, and that element will be aligned to the float. That is what we have seen. So if I add border, and I will say 2px solid, okay, and I will say green yellow. Similarly, I will add border to child 2 also, and I will change this to blue. Okay, it is fine. Now we have two elements in this way. Now what I will say, if I want this element to be aligned at this side and this webcam one to be aligned at left side, we can declare the property as a float left, and here I can say as a float right. Internally it will change the property, it will take the necessary property, and these elements will get aligned, okay, to the float and to the right. We do not need to, but using a float property we won't be able to make this element at center. Okay, for that purpose we need to use the position property. If you want to move this element away from its normal position, so this is what the use of float. If I declare both the element as a float left, it will comes like this. Okay, and many elements we can add, okay. What I will do, I will say here child 2, okay, and now let's remove this and give the property. We have multiple divs, and I want these divs to be aligned as a float left to each other, so that I can add parent reference space div, and I will say float left. All the elements should come here. Okay, and for all we can add border to px solid, and this salmon color, and then background. If you want to add background color will not matter. Okay, and this is how it works. Okay, so now you got a clear picture. If I want this all to be aligned at right side, I can move this to right by writing a single property. I do not need to take much efforts by using display and position property. So this is what the float property, this is about the float property. And if you want to remove the clear effect from next element, we can use the clear property. So this property help us to align the CSS elements. Now we will move ahead with CSS elements alignment. So since we are already seeing here float left and right property, that is help us to align the elements in horizontal, right, in horizontal line. Okay, but still there is something that is not aligned. Means what? Okay, if I say width, if I add width, and if I add width to 20% to each, maybe that is not sufficient. Later on I will add. Okay, so here what I will do, instead of 20%, 4 divs are there, and parent, so I will say 24%. Okay, and now you can see that this text is not at a center position. Okay, and for this text, if you want text to be aligned at center, we have a property called text align center. Text align center, and you can see that the text is positioned at center of its parent. So means this text align property should be applicable to the parent, so that that property will take effect on its child, right? Here you can see that this div is a parent, internal div is a parent, child 1, child 2, these are the parents, and h3 is again child for this child 1. And I have declared this h3 as this div as a text align center, and all the text between that div will get aligned to the center. Okay, this is the one way. Another way is if you want to use the another property without using text align property, we can say that for all the h3 I will say that margin auto. Okay, it is removed, but margin auto is not working for this h3, but it should work. Okay, margin auto. Okay, when I use the margin auto, it is removing default margin. Okay, no problem. Then what we need to do? I want this text to be aligned at center by using margin property text center. For the text, we have only property as a text align center, and this works. Okay, then when to use the margin auto? Okay, I will talk on this. If I remove this float right here, you can see that the parent is coming and these elements are not aligned. Means I wanted to align the block level element. Okay, this due to be at center, due to be at center. So what I can do, I don't need these elements now, and I have this due only, and I want this due to be at center. So to move that, okay, we can make the adjustment by using margin, and I will say margin to, and now this div is coming to the center, right? So remember this, when you have a property called text align center, that will affect the text only. Okay, that will affect the text only, means that is applicable for the child elements. Okay, that is applicable for the child element, but margin auto works on the that element itself. Means here we are referring dot parent div, means we are referring this element, this div element, and the moment I add margin auto, that margin will be taken for the that div itself only, but this text align center is applicable for the internal text or whatever the text that element has. Okay, and if I remove that, you can see that that text is not centrally aligned, but that div is aligned at center. This is what the difference between margin and text align. So you need to remember this, okay, very precisely, so that you do not need to struggle for that. Okay, now what I need to do, what I will do, I will say another way. Okay, text center we have seen, margin auto we have seen, and if you want to align the element horizontally, we can use the position also, right? We have seen that, and I will say, okay, I will add child to, and if I wanted to use the position here, I can use, or I can say that position. Okay, position, I don't want position, I want absolute. Okay, now we will discuss about the position little bit, and here you can see that they are, means the element which I have declared as a position absolute, they are not taking a parent space, right? It was happened in the float property also, with respect when we were seeing. So internally float adding these properties, that's why I was saying that we do not need to worry about display position or display and position property when we go with CSS float property reduce our efforts. Okay, but still I want this element to be assigned, and what I can do now, for this child one I will add property, I will say dot child one, and I will move the child one away from its position, because since I have declared this, I can add any left right property, and I will say 300 pixels. Okay, and this web chop one. Okay, why this is not okay. Child, I said child, I should say child 1, and webcam 1 is coming here. Okay, and here also webcam 1, so I will make webcam 2. So now you can see that webcam 2 is sitting on the left side and webcam 1 is moved away with position absolute. So this is the benefit of using position absolute property. And if I want this element to be at right 0, I will say right 0, and it looks like okay, 1 is aligned. I mean, it is very similar, right? It is very similar that float left and float right property. This works. Yes. And this is how we can use the position property, position absolute property, to align the CSS elements horizontally. CSS elements horizontally. Now I will, okay, I will remove this. And now we have to see position vertical. Again, for that purpose, we have a padding and line height. Okay, and there are many other properties, but that we will see later on. Now, until now, what I have discussed line height and I have discussed only padding. So I will go with padding. Okay, so let's say parent has a width 400 pixel. Sorry, not width. I will go with height only 400 pixel, and this child due has a height of 100 pixel, and I want this child due at center position, vertically center. So this webchamp 1 should come at this position only. Okay, webchamp 1 should come at this position. Means what it is, it should be a vertically center. Okay, it should be vertically center, and I have a this much, means gray border. You can see that I have a div of that size. So what I can do, I will say, or I will add a padding to this instead of using position absolute. Okay, I don't need that position absolute here. It is possible. Okay, we can even it is possible to use position absolute, and if I add the top property, top of 150 pixel, you will see that element is at center. Yes, that is possible. This is the one way. Okay, but another way is to add the padding from, okay, so we have an option, or we can add padding. We know that we can add padding from left side, right side, padding from top side, padding from bottom side. So what I will do, I need to add a padding from top side and bottom side. And this is the way, okay, or this is possible. What I will do, I will mention two properties. First one, I will say 0 px, but I want 0 px from left and right, means that element should not move away from its position. Okay, it is possible if I say 0 px, but before that, okay, the sequence I would like to mention here as first top, then I need to add, if I add four values, I have to add four values. Bottom, okay, top, bottom, not bottom. Right should be there, then bottom should be there, and left should be here. Okay, it is fine. And this is how I can add padding for all four sides. This is the sequence. But I want to add padding for top and bottom only, top and bottom, not to the right and left. So what I will say, I will declare two properties only. First, I will declare, okay, 150 px. 150 px. Why I'm taking 150 px? If you know the box model of CSS, then you will understand, because I have added 150 px. Okay, and I will say 0 px, 0 px. So I have given, instead of giving four property, I have given two. By default, what it will do, it will consider first property is applicable for the two sides, that is alternate, top and bottom. Okay, and next property is applicable for the right and left. And this is the way, okay, I have added padding, and this webchamp 1 is at center position. Okay, This is the way this webchamp one is, means this gets applied to the this div, with padding is added to inside a div. Okay, for this. And if you want to add the padding, okay, or if you want to make this div at the center, we don't need to add, or we should not add padding to the that element. We, instead of that, we should add padding to the parent. And here you can see that it gets added. Okay, it should come. Okay, so for parent it is also increasing height, means I can, okay, don't get confused. I would like to say what is happening. So it is adding padding padding to the parent, and this div is, I mean, getting moved, but because of padding, the size of parent div is getting increased. Means what? It is adding padding from bottom 130, and the height will be 700 pixel. Now this plus this, and remove this. So don't try to add divs, or don't try to align the div using padding. Okay, we can add padding to make the text vertically center. Make the text vertically center. Means this padding should be applicable to this h3 only. Okay, and this h3 only, and then only. Okay, so now if I want, and what is the height of my, what is the height of, or I don't need to add the height to this div, because the text or h3 has some default height and margin, and after that this padding will comes in picture. Okay, so instead of that I will say 100 pixel padding from top and 100 pixel padding from bottom, and this text is at center of this red bordered box. So padding we can use only for text alignment. Okay, don't try to align the divs. And if you want to align the divs at the center, there is only way to use the position property. Position absolute you need to define, or position relative you need to define, and then you can move that element wherever you want. Okay, that's what I wanted to show up here. So that is the difference. Now we have something called, if I wanted to add, or if I wanted to align this text to the center, means what? Now we have directly taken the padding, but instead of that, let's say my div has, or this div has some height, and I will say height of 300 pixel. Okay, 300 pixel. Okay, and I want to bring this webcam one to the center of this element, to the center of this element. Okay, I will remove this also. Okay, and this is possible. Okay, but what? To again I need to add, as I have added padding to the text, similarly you need to add padding to this, sorry, padding, not padding is what something we have seen, line height, and how much height you should give. So how, whatever the height parent div has, same line height should be given to this content or this text. And what it will do, it will be automatically, it will get aligned to the center. Now you can see that it is little bit down, I mean it is little bit down position than center. So why this is happening? So by default this h3 is taking some margin from its top position. To remove that, okay, what I can, so I will use universal selector, and I will say margin 0, and now you can see that there is no margin and taken by this webcam, means that heading element, that was the default property, by default property, and I have removed that. right? By using universal selector, this is how you can use. And whenever you wanted to design the complete web page, you must declare this property like this. Means using universal selector, you need to declare margin 0 and padding 0 so that we can add our custom properties to fit the page. And now this element or this text is centered, vertically centered. Now I wanted to bring this to horizontally center, and yes, that is possible. What I will so I will say here, text align center. And this is how we can bring the content to the center of any div. Okay, this is what about content. Similarly, it will works for images also. Okay, images can be again aligned by using, okay, not I can say line height and all, but by using position or margin, that will work with image also. So let me say here, or let me take image also. I will say img, okay, that image size, and I will give the source html.jpg, okay, and I will say height is 100 pixel, okay, not 100 pixel, image should be larger, and width is again 200 pixel, okay, just to show the difference. And by default here you can see that text, by using text align, that property is aligned horizontally, or that image is aligned horizontally at center position, but it is not aligned vertical by using line height. Yes, obviously line height will not work on images. Line height works on text only. Line height, remember this, line height works on text only. It will not work on images. Okay, that is fine. Then what I need to do, I don't need these properties anymore now with respect to image. And right, as I did earlier, I can add padding to image, and I will say padding again. Padding top and bottom, I would like to add. What is the height of parent div? So it is 300 pixel, and height of image is 200 pixel. So there is a difference of 100 pixel. So I will say 50 pixel from top and bottom, and 0 pixel from left and right. Okay, and you can see that image is also aligned at center of this div. So this is how content alignment or element alignment works in CSS. Vertical alignment and float. So I would like to conclude this video here. In this video, we have discussed what is the CSS float, what is the CSS clear property, how clear works to remove the effect of CSS on the next sibling, then how elements are positioned horizontally, or how elements are positioned vertically or aligned vertically by using different properties. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hope this video would be helpful for you to design the web pages.